Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to jump into Dragon number 104 from 40 years ago this month, December 1985. We're going to take a look at what we were reading back then and what was going on in the D&D world. First, we'll take a look at the cover. The cover, we have a wizard conjuring up an illusion of a knight riding to save a damsel from a dragon. I always liked this cover, and this cover always reminded me a great deal of the cover of Unearthed Arcana, which had been out just a few months when this was published. But inside we are promised 16-page Marvel module, spotlight on thieves, and the ecology of the ochre jelly. I love the ecology articles. So let's go inside. First thing we see is your ability to strike the first blow. Warrior Knight, an epic board game from Games Workshop. They're out of the UK. They're distributed through Columbia, Maryland. They went on, of course, to give us Warhammer, Warhammer 40k, Sigmar, all kinds of good games. And then we have an ad for Space Master. The challenge of the future awaits from Iron Crown Enterprises. Space Master had definite pluses. I really enjoyed the universe. The rules were a little clumsy. Iron Crown Enterprises, and these guys are out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Then we have the Dragon, what the special attractions, other features are going to be, a little bit about the cover, letters to the editor, and first impressions can be wrong. This is an editorial from the editor, Kim Mullen. Kim edited a good magazine. I like them. And then we have the World Gamers Guide on the next page. If you live outside the continental U.S. and Canada, you can still schedule or sign up with the World Gamers Guide. Let people find you and game with you back 40 years ago. Then we have an ad for King Arthur, Pendragon, chivalric role-playing in Arthur's Britain. And this brought to us by Chaosium from Albany, California. Now we have the forum, which is letters to the editor, but with a little more direct response from the editor, addressing concerns and issues. And then we can bring our computer into the Dark Age with Dragonfire. From Magicware out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. I didn't have a computer in 1985. I had one friend who did. That's pretty cool. The Rogues of Role-playing. 3 features especially for thieves. The well-rounded thief. Not everyone steals for the same reason. I love thieves. I used the heck out of this particular article because it had a lot of good things to say about thieves and why you're a thief and things like that. And I used a lot to develop some thieves guilds I was running in the city of Greyhawk at the time, or a thieves guild rather. And then we have races ahead of class. Demi-human thieves act according to heritage. So maybe you can give your upbringing a little input as to why you behave like you behave. Continuing out our article there, we have an ad for Bushido from Fantasy Games Unlimited. Flashing blade work, brave warriors, martial mastery. There you go. And these guys were out of Roslyn, New York. We have an ad for Illuminati, the fast, exciting new play-by-mail from Adventure Systems, Houston, Texas. Part of the Steve Jackson Games. And then Believe in the Magic, fantasy role-playing supplements for the experienced gamer. The Atlantean Trilogy, the complete fantasy series from Bard Games. And these guys were available in Walden Books. I miss Walden Books. I liked it so much. We continue on to the end of that. Then we have the opportunity to draw upon Great Power, the Complete Strategist. A couple of game stores on the East Coast of the United States that I understand some of them are still here. And then we have a 5-star super game, highly recommended, Axis and Allies. And these are part of the Game Master series from Milton Bradley. Was it worth the risk? A DM's Guide to Pickpocketing Success. Interesting. Pickpocketing is, of course, one of the thief abilities, and yet it's one of the least used, at least at my table. I have had many, many thieves play at my table, and only a handful of pickpocket attempts, simply because the reward usually wasn't worth the risk, as this article addresses. So this gave us some other stuff some people you might pick on, and then some stuff you might actually find in their pockets. I don't want to pocket pick a vampire or a wight, thank you. Continuing out our article with the rest of the tables. It's pretty interesting. It's a good way to kind of pick it up a little bit, but you've got to make your players aware of something like this. And then we have an ad for Fantasy Newsflash. They have 39 great new molds. The Duncan Company in Calvert, Texas. You can get some minis made there. And then Archive Miniatures, Game Line. And then we have all the various miniatures they made. They were out of Berkeley, California, and distributed through different places around the United States. Oriental opens New Vistas, what the latest AD&D game book has to offer. This is an article about Oriental Adventures. A book that I still like. Again, it had the same problems on Earth Arcana had. It was rushed to press. Not very good quality binding. Typos, rules that contradict each other. But we were still able to make it work. And we have an ad for Behind Enemy Lines. Can You Survive? This game provided by the Companions out of Bath, Maine. 3 challenges in 1. New module mixes wargaming and role-playing. Oh, this is for Battle System, 1st edition. Battle System was interesting. I really wanted to like the 1st edition, which came out in 84, late 84 or early 85. I forget off the top of my head. But I couldn't. It just wasn't a very good tabletop game. However, Battle System 2nd edition, which came out in about 91, was a really good system that I still use. I've done a few videos on Battle System too. Gods of Harn, the Librum of the Pantheon. And this is from Columbia Games out of Blaine, Washington, and this is for Harn. Okay, I had the base Harn, or Harn Master, I think it was. I moved out of my collection years ago to a friend of mine. Meaning of the Minds, an expanded table for psionic encounters. I'm sure I didn't bother reading this because we weren't using psionics by this point. I never felt they fit in D&D. And then we have Dawn of the Ancients Game System, Strategic Play by Mail, from the publishers of Earthwood, out of Miami, Florida. Don't forget to label your letter so that the Dragon staff knows where it came from. We have the end of the forum. We have an ad for Star Runner. You can be a Star Runner. This has a game of elements and strategy and role-playing from American Games out of Larchmont, New York. And an ad for Villains and Vigilantes from Fantasy Games Unlimited. Villains and Vigilantes, yes, that was the first superhero role-playing game I played very shortly after I discovered D&D, which was in April of 80. Probably by May of 80, we were playing Villains and Vigilantes. I had bought it. And then Champions came out in 82, and we went to that. We got an ad for the Armory, the finest in gaming and hobby accessories. I had someone comment on last month's Dragon flip through that they love the Armory paints, and I don't know that I've ever said it, but yes, I did too. My wife, then my fiance, and I would routinely paint. It's just a pastime, paint figures, and we had some Armory paints, and they were really, really good. Shame all those paints are gone. We had some of the D&D paint series. The only color I remember off the top of my head is Mind Flare Mauve. Let's see, in Illinois, where would I have had to go? I would have had to go to Granite City, Mini Mall Hobbies, I've never been there, and Mount Prospect Games Plus. Of course, they've changed their address, but I've been there many times. They are still around. And then we've got Lehman's Tiny Hut by Len Lakofka, Specialization and Game Balance. Specialization did cause some game balance problems. It actually also robbed me of one of my favorite things of using one-hit dice monsters in early games, because if you had a specialist who had a good strength, you could end up with somebody who was double specialized, +3/+3, and then if they had whatever their 18 strength was to give them +2/+4, you could have somebody swing at +5/+7 at first level brand new. And the problem there is they kill any first hit dice creature on any hit. So it was a problem. Specialization took some getting used to. We play it as written, but it did take some getting used to. And then we have an ad for Saga of Old City from Greyhawk Adventures by Gary Gygax, the first Gord the Rogue novel. And we're told that it's an exciting new novel series available in November at all book, hobby, and toy stores. I remember reading that. It's a really good book. I've read it many, many times. And then we have an ad for World Action and Adventure, the universal system for realistic role-playing. World Action, no, it's just a role-playing game. That's pretty cool, though. Wizzy Systems, Ulti Systems, and Wizzy News by Nichols Services, different source books to improve your AD&D game. And then an ad for Battle System, Art of War. Battle System could have been so good. It's from TSR. Oriental Adventures ad. Hiya! From TSR. Just out. I like OA, I still do. Ecology of the Ochre Jelly by Ed Greenwood. I love the ecology articles. Lots of ideas in here. And then we have an ad here for Use Some Magic for Dragon Bone, electronic dice rolling, and then Dragon Skin book protectors. These guys were out of Lamont, Illinois. Finishing out our Ochre Jelly, we have a Dragon for You, Raoul Partha's world famous collection of dragons. I have the golden dragon. That's neat. Continuing out our article on ochre jellies and guidelines for writing for Dragon, if you want to write for them. The River and the Ruins, 2 new adventure modules for Twilight 2000. The Pilots of Vistula and the Ruins of Warsaw, from Game Designers Workshop out of Bloomington, Illinois. These guys also published Traveler. They created Traveler. Assessing, Not Guessing, how PCs can make their own value judgments. That's kind of interesting. Lycian Fields mapping accessories for role-playing and military simulation games. Britain Designs from Chicago, Illinois. Mapping was not an easy thing in '85. There was not much out to support it. We used to use a piece of blank paper, and I would draw a dungeon intersection or whatever, place the doors, and then we put the figures on that. And then I had some cardboard hallways for a while we used. But it really wasn't until Dwarven Forge, and I didn't get my first set of that until 2000, that I had really good 3D representation for my tabletop. If you follow my channel, you know I play a lot of 3D stuff on my table. Continuing out the article on Assessing, Not Guessing, we have an ad for Psyworld from Fantasy Games Unlimited. You can use psionic powers. RPG. Finishing out our article there, we have 2 more ads from Fantasy Games Unlimited, Chivalry and Sorcery and Daredevils. And both adventure games from Fantasy Games Unlimited. These are the guys that brought us Space Opera, but by this time Space Opera had kind of stumbled. It really wasn't around much. There was still some stuff coming out now and again, and there was even a revival of Space Opera on Drive-Thru RPG back at about 2011 or so. They put out a couple of new source books that were really good. But by and large, it was gone by then. Then Ares Section Special. Sudden Dawn, a Marvel Superheroes module. Okay. For the Marvel Superheroes game. I did play this a little bit. We've got a look at the playing notes and everything. And then the Blitz Begins, Chapter 1. And then the Aftermath. Liberty Legion Ball. I didn't play Marvel all that much. We were playing Champions concurrent with that, and we ended up just kind of defaulting to Champions. I think this is the all-winner squad from the comic books. Patriot, Miss America, Spirit of 76, The Wizard. And there we have a nice cardboard pull-out of the characters, which is always nice. So there you go. And then we have Thin Man, Red Raven, Jack Frost, and Blue Diamond. Okay. Continuing out our adventure, the final countdown. Don Heck is the artist of that panel. He drew a lot of these. An old Marvel artist. Continuing on, we have Sudden Dawn villains written up individually. Baron Blood, a vampire. Ooh. Agents. And then we have an ad for the Mechanoids. The Mechanoids are back. Because you demanded it, the Mechanoids are back in an all-new 168-page science fiction masterpiece from Palladium Books out of Detroit, Michigan. Spy's Advice, questions and answers on the Top Secret game. We were still playing Top Secret. At the time, we played that off and on until Top Secret 2 came out. And then I played Top Secret 2 off and on into the 90s. So I like Top Secret. It's a fun game. You're basically James Bond, that type of thing. The Newest, the Best. Yours from Raoul Partha. Bushido. Oriental Adventures characters. The Knolls. Spelled Knoll wrong. The Dwarf. I have some of them. I don't know if I have the Knolls. I think I do have the Knolls. I'm not sure. From Raoul Partha Enterprises. Cincinnati, Ohio. Finishing out our article on Top Secret. We have an ad for Hyborian War, Imperial Conquest in the Age of Conan. A play-by-mail game out of Tempe, Arizona by Reality Simulations. The quest is over, and now you can look great at the gaming table. You got some TSR fantasy wear, and it was out of Fantasy Wear, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Pretty good prices, even for $85. $15 for a sweatshirt was a little high, but not that outrageous. And then we have a profile on Harold Johnson and David Zeb Cook. A little look at some of the people behind the scenes, TSR. Previews, what's coming. These are shipping in December and going into January. The Swords of the Undercity for Lankmar, Test the Ninja, a Super Endless Quest game book, Tarzan and the Tower of Diamonds, another Endless Quest, Oriental Adventures, Art of Dungeons and Dragons, and then we have sneak peeks into 86. We have, let's see, just to look at where the Scourge of the Slave Lords is coming out, the Titanic Greyhawk Adventures saga continues, and then we have an ad for Amazing Stories 1986 calendar, again brought to us by TSR, with some artwork that was part of Gamma World. And then we continue out the forum from earlier in the magazine. We have a game from Steve Jackson Games out of Austin, Texas, Man to Man, Orc Slayer. It's the first supplement for Man to Man. Don't know that one. One of the hottest new fantasy games just got hotter, the Palladium role-playing game. Discover the magic of Palladium books out of Detroit, Michigan. Are you missing a Dragon magazine in your lair? This is your chance to go ahead and find them. TSR was clearing out a warehouse. They just sold them to you for cover price. The Ares Science Fiction Gaming section. We got a bonus in this one because we had the Marvel module and now the Ares section itself. With its old table of contents and editorial. The Star Law returns, a new look at a Star Frontiers agency. As I said when I went through the one last month, I think that Star Frontiers was winding down and TSR was trying to get some of these already written articles into print. I liked it. What I didn't use, because I didn't play Star Frontiers yet, but what I used out of the articles I used in Traveler. And some of this information, again, in 85 was still very hard to come by. Hexes and Highguard, organizing Space Wars for Traveler game. Highguard was a lot of fun. Then we have an ad for Strategicon. Presents OrcCon 1986 with special guest E. Gary Gygax. And this was in Long Beach, California. And Strategicon Adventure Gamers Association awaits. You could join. It's called Diverse Talents in Long Beach, California. The Exterminator, a special Gamma World encounter. Yes, Arnold will be back, and he is back in Gamma World. Used the heck out of this one. He had a couple of fights with some exterminators. Then we have an ad for Car Wars expansion, Chopper Challenge from Steve Jackson Games, Austin, Texas. I did play Car Wars a little bit in the 80s. Ann McPhee's Dragon Riders of Perm come to life. Nova Game Design Books out of Manchester, Connecticut. The Kzinti have landed. A new race for Star Trek role-playing game. Kzinti are featured in Larry Niven's Known Space. They are, in Traveler, they would be Aslan. But it's kind of neat that you have them for Star Trek RPG. And then we have Kzinti's Police Space Combat Tables. And then we have an ad for Amazing Stories. Now you can watch the NBC television series. And this was published by TSR. The Marvel File. All this in World War II. We have a breakdown of Bucky, James Buchanan Barnes, and Baron Zemo the First. Baron Zemo. And then we have an ad for Game Town. These guys were out of San Diego, California. And then with the Gamer's Guide, kind of a personal ads for people who want to sell you something or be hired as an artist, your own full-figure character. And then we have an ad for Winter Fantasy 86, come to Lake Geneva on January 4th and 5th of 86, the Americana Resort, and you can go to a role-playing convention. The convention calendar of upcoming stuff through May, what we could have gone to in 86. And then we have Wormy. Wormy's got a big splash page there, as they used to call them. I don't know if they're still called that in comic books. And a couple more pages, and 4 pages of Wormy and Dragon Mirth. I always love Dragon Mirth. And then we have Snarf Quest. There we go. And then the inside back ad is for Paranoia from West End Games. out of New York, New York. I did play Paranoia a little bit in the 80s. It's being published by Mongoose Publishing currently. It's a good game if you're... It's really a better game, in my opinion, with strangers, because it's a game where you, for the most part, are opposing each other, and my players at my table wouldn't do too well with that. Adventure in Middle-earth with Tolkien Quest, solo fantasy role-playing game books. So there you go, Tolkien Quest, Iron Crown Enterprises, out of Charlottesville, Virginia. There you have it. That's what we were reading 40 years ago, December 1985. I remember buying this issue, and I'd been out of town for a long, long time, and I came home and I bought this issue, and really liked it. But that's all I've got today on page 121. If you liked the video, enjoyed the content, please leave a comment below. I'm still trying to grow the channel and see if the likes make a difference. So if you enjoyed the video, please like it, tell your friends. Let's keep growing the channel through subscriptions. Also take a look at Patreon, see if there's anything you can do to help me out there. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.